First I'm going to show you a pineapple that started fruit. I doesn't even really notice I had a pineapple here, but isn't a cute little pineapple on that? Just this big now. They just pop off the top there. I think it's called bromeliad. So I was going to talk about something. I've always liked mapping, make a little map of ideas, turn people or philosophies into villages or people into animals, just map things. And territorial maps, in particular, I wanted to talk about. So Greatex was complaining that he said, that's his complaint about Emendham, is that Emendham never changes things. And see, I don't think that's, I saw in that an opportunity. It's not so much a reply to that comment, but I saw that an opportunity to describe again, why I'm here. Now, I happen to know that it's related to my longevity and how come I don't get burned out. I go through the same burnout things. We see people last a year or 2 years, and they get burned out because they're trying to accomplish something they find out probably is not going to be accomplished. Sometimes they realize, hey, I still enjoyed it. And I think for those of us that know we enjoy it, then our explanations to ourselves of what game it is, what game we choose to think of it as, we can figure out. That's just something we have to theorize about, right? In my case, so I've been online arguing since I was 13, like 1983, right? In text mode, right? In bulletin boards where you just call the people. I ran one. You leave your machine on the phone and it picks up the phone and somebody's on your website. They'd have to be one user at a time, and then if you bought more than one phone line, which I never did, but other people did, then that number of people could be online at once, and they would call each other at night and send emails all over the nation and things like FidoNet and whatnot. So it goes way back. And after about 10, about 10, I don't know, 8 or 10 years of that, I came up with this metaphor that it was the philosophical battleground, and all the positions, I mapped into there. The utilitarians are in big mech warriors that are ineffectual, have bad aim, they don't really, but they look imposing, and so on and so forth, and I place myself in it. But what I was going to suggest for us, I think, is, okay, I think it's important to establish something, not necessarily to change. Things change on their own. And this is why I think honesty is important, just to establish. So I also came up with this map that's a triangle-based map where one point is pure blue, one is pure red, and one is pure green, and each of the intensity of red, green, and blue relate to, in a given situation, how likely you are to choose aggression to solve it. That's the red factor. How likely you are to choose a nurturing approach. That's the green factor. And how likely you are to just include practical, logical justifications, pragmatism. That's the blue. And so if you rate political philosophy or party, for example, on that, you can get a location. And in doing that exercise, which I did when I was political blogging and marked out things to try to, it's a way to analyze your own thoughts doing these exercises. So I just thought of a weird metaphor nobody would probably get. But anyway, so I found that it's not sufficient to place these, like the real philosophy, like the home country of the people in these villages is not the same color as where the village is put as an outpost, right? So you can have a really militant, highly aggressive group of people, but for some reason they've made their their village over, in the more practical and supposedly less aggressive area. Now, if you think of it this way, then, I had not a very flattering, but I don't think too insulting thing. I think the Ephilists maybe are kind of like, a raft village, like a bunch of life rafts and a bunch of shipwrecks, and these life rafts end up floating, to the gyre, just like all the plastic bits, And they float around in the gyre and they strap them together, and make a little village out there. You can see how open-minded this is, because you can make your little home almost anywhere. There is no one best or right place. The questions become a little bit more of what you do. How can you sustain yourself? What's your agriculture like? How are you? What's your impact on your local environment? Those become ways of judging people, or people that pretend they're in cities, but they really just drive around in a caravan, and there's a disconnect between, how they present themselves and think of themselves and what they're doing. And in my case, I don't think I have a village. I'm just a wanderer on here, and I judge people, one, on the integrity of the camp or town they've set up. How does it work? Is it fair? Is it classist internally? What's its overall interaction with its neighbors? That kind of thing. And or people that, like myself, they aren't towns. They're travelers that bring stories of towns, and they could tell you this or that. And if you want to judge them on similarly the way you judge a town, that's their camp. Well, how do they set up their camp? What do they do in their camp? How much do they enjoy their travels? This sort of thing. So is this one of the things, is like nobody understands what that meant? Or is that, to me, I have a poetic mind, actually. That, to me, is the clearest I can get.